We'll just let it settle for a second. There we go. Good.
Yeah.
Adjust your reality. It's already been warped. There you go. I wrote that down. That's a good little byline. I'm here with Pat and Lisa Mills. Look at that.
Hello.
Lisa on camera. What's happening?
Hi.
Finally agreed to be interviewed. Very excited. I think we've had you say like a one line, I think, in a previous interview. Good. Hey guys, you good?
Yeah, we're just looking forward to the paper edition of Spacewarp, which will be with the distributors this coming Monday.
Well, that's ruined my second question. I'll cross that one out. That's good. Right. So I want just a couple of quick questions about the digital version, because whilst I know, Pat, you aren't a newcomer to digital, all your 2000 AD stuff, for example, lots of stuff you've done has come out in digital. I know that you have commented on it being a guided view comic and how interesting you found that. Is that something new to you both? I think, is it something you haven't experienced before?
Yeah. Well, I think there's something very addictive about guided view, and I think some digital comics are just the PDF, and you just scroll through it, and so I think we found the guided view version of Spacewarp. I found it worked really well for me.
Absolutely. I mean, you asked if it was new to us. No, because we have it on Requiem, because
of course you do.
Vampire Night is out on, and it's actually, it was Comixology who does the processing to create the guided view, although there's actually a Kindle comics creator software that comics creators can feed their art into, usually in PDF, and then you can really easily create your own guided view. The only problem is it's proprietary, so it's only outputs files that can be uploaded to Kindle to be published there. You can't. It's not like EPUB.
Yeah. So I just wondered whether. Sorry, Lise, go on. Sorry, mate.
I was to say we really enjoyed it on Requiem. It works really, really well because there's so much detail in Olivier's art, but it's the same with Spacewarp, that because the artists have put so much in, that there's something about the guided view that takes you into that individual panel that I just think it works really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got detailed backgrounds, for example, on Jurassic
Punks. Yeah, so you're holding up a page of Jurassic Punks. It's great, man, isn't it? Talk about lovely detail.
A lot going on in there, yeah.
That's looking good, isn't it? Look at it.
Copy. Yay! This is what everyone wanted.
So it's the sort of American magazine size, is it? Is it a bit bigger than 2000 AD?
It's 8.5 by 12 inches. So that's, I don't know, is it a little bit wider?
I would say it's approximately the size of the original 2000 AD. And that's what I wanted to get back to.
Right, okay. Yeah. So slightly wider in
I guess so. And of course, the other thing is it's
perfect bound,
glossy cover and all that kind of thing. So it's a nice presentation. But you see, as you doubtless know, I'm fairly negative towards the American comic book size. Yeah. And I think for British comics, I think we really associate with this size. And I was always a bit disappointed when 2000 AD changed to some kind of American proportions. I think, I don't know, back in the 90s or something. Yeah. So this is, I think, how we see British comics, and that's really what Spacewarp's about.
It also bridges that gap with bande dessinée as well, doesn't it? It's got that feel to it. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I really fell in love with bande dessinée very shortly after bringing out 2000 AD, and thought this is how I would like my stories to appear, rather than this cut down American format. So this is the way we really want to go.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about the French-Belgian model of bringing a book out, almost annually, maybe slightly more. And I think I can see us going there. I think it's a great way to have a nice shelf full of great books, which I think Spacewarp would fit well into. Yeah. How did you find the response, Pat? Sorry, go, man.
Yeah, I was going to say absolutely that I think that there are likely to be long gaps in between each issue of Spacewarp, because it is akin, not so much an annual, but or a graphic novel, but yeah, the stories need to continue. So I see it rather like television series. You know, you have a season of a particular drama, and then maybe 8 months or a year later, you have the next season, and so on.
And I think also we put a lot of work into building the website, because we knew that there would be a gap, practically speaking, in between volume 1 and volume 2. And so we wanted to put stuff up online so that people didn't just sort of come to the end of reading it and go, oh, well, that's it, there's nothing else I can do now. You know, you can go to the website and there's bonus material up there, spacewarpcomic.com, plus fantastic 6-page comic strip, Future Schlock branded, art by You'll make Cliff. So if you sign up to our newsletter, you get that story as a free download. And there's bonus material on all of the stories on that website as well. So we kind of wanted to give that extra value and make it a little more immersive.
And the opportunity for readers in the fullness of time to interact with a comic. So all the foundations are there, and it may take a few months for that really to to be harvested. And of course, that's the other thing, that from our point of view, we're only just now really marketing the comic, because up until the time the digital version came out, all our attention was on making sure there were no last-minute errors and that kind of thing. And then once that came out, then we had to process the paper version. So our marketing has really begun this week, I think.
Yeah, I know we talked about this way back in, I'm going to say February, when we came over and saw you. And you were talking about the next phase, because you had it very sectioned out, the next phase being marketing. And that's something I wanted to ask you a little bit about. So one of the bylines on this is it's a Spacewarp, a comic for everyone. Now, I know you were keen to get back to that aesthetic of comics are for people to read who are just Joe Public, and not just Joe Public, but who are Joe Public and not just collectors.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wondered I know you've passed it around and you've carefully studied what the reactions have been. Has there been any surprising reactions to it, or pleasing reactions?
Actually, I think it's pretty much gone how I guessed it would go. Right. I mean, I think there are still potential surprises, but what we felt initially was that there would be some readers who would buy the digital version, and they would always be in a minority, certainly in the UK, compared to the paper version. So now I think it's very much selling to a kind of comic fans who some of whom will have kids and so on, and encourage their kids to read it. But it's probably only in the new year that we're really going to focus on how we reach that lost youth market. Because, fans who've got kids, of course they're going to say, hey, check Spacewarp out. Yeah. But it's all those kids who've given up on comics, including
parents gave up. So how do you actually reach the kids without the parents buying it for them? So that's a whole thing that we're going to be looking at.
And significant. Well, I say significantly. I'm not sure it is significant, but I throw it in for what it's worth. We had a competition where we deliberately asked for reviewers of the comic who were under 17, and we had reviews from a 16-year-old girl, was it a 12-year-old boy?
13-year-old boy, Kai, and an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was really interesting. We had
some others as well, but they were the winners.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It was great to read their reviews, because they're barely aware of the comic scene or anything, so they're consuming this with very much fresh eyes. Yeah. And it was all very positive. I don't think there was anything really negative to take away from it, apart from one instance, which I always quote, just really because it's slightly sillier. What was it? she said Paris said something like that there was one of the stories she didn't like because it was a little bit confusing, I think she said, like her dad's old comics. And I thought, yeah, I bet we can all think of what her dad's old comics have got, certain issues of 2000 AD, perhaps, that kind of thing. But that's very anecdotal evidence. And okay, I'm building an awful lot on just 3 reviews, but I found that very encouraging. And it did suggest to me that we're on the right track, in particular by making Spacewarp, I think, generally visually more accessible, I think, than certain phases of 2000 AD, shall we say, and other comics. So I think we're in the right direction. I think what will happen, though, this is a guess, is that as we gather more younger readers, we're going to get more opinions coming in, and I think we're going to start to see, the stories that are perhaps the front runners and the other stories that perhaps are not. Yeah. But at this point in time, it's a level playing field, which is great, because I personally, I don't like this idea. When 2000 AD came out, to a degree, it was Mac 1 and the rest, and then it became Judge Dredd and the rest. Right. Primarily because it encourages complacency. It means, hey, we've got this great hit with Judge Dredd, so we can sit on our asses and not worry too much about the other stories. And that did definitely happen.
Should we just say the important stuff, that the print is available for $9.99?
Yeah. So we can do that. So don't worry, we've got a couple of minutes yet, at least. But that's.
I'm worried about the time.
Before that, I was going to ask you a quick question. Now, we'll have a lot of people who will be listening to this and possibly watching the video when that gets posted as well, who are new to publishing. So I know that kind of that's your end of the game. That's your bag, isn't it? Is getting it out digitally and then getting it out in print. Is there any little things that you learned going along that would be of use to people who are sort of setting off on that road? Because you've corralled a lot of cats there, mate, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of working parts, a lot of artists. At least one difficult writer. Not you, Pat.
Was that guy George?
That's him. Yeah. So how did you find it? Is there any little bits of advice or little bits of gold you could think of?
I think being very, very clear in your guidelines. If you're working with an artist, to be very specific about the actual technical specifications, because we had, I think, every single artist in some way
screwed up,
fluffed it slightly,
just a bit,
in terms of the page proportions,
and the DPI,
and just various things. Just sort of like getting, even some of them were coming in slightly askew. So it's like, can we make this straight again? Some of them were too narrow and tall. And I think every single artist made a mistake. Right. And so getting that straight at the beginning saves you a lot of time, because a lot of them had to go back and do something to their art to make it fit the page that we were using. Right. Now, if you're doing digital only, that's not really so much a problem. There you're making sure that you do have the right resolution for digital, but it's a lot more forgiving in terms of how much white space is around it. So I think that was really interesting, because we were working with people they're fairly new, but they weren't all starting from scratch. They weren't, I
think you're all working with a lot of people who are taking, on all due respect to them, because I don't think there's a poor bit of art in the whole thing. I think you're working with a lot of people who are taking that next step up in regards to submitting. A lot of them will have just done their own work, maybe, or work with much smaller publishers or people who weren't perhaps into the industry. But there's people who are stepping up. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's possibly people who had done stuff, but they've done it the way they wanted, and they've drawn the page sizes they wanted. and what they were having to do was follow more of a brief there. And so I think that was quite an eye-opener for me, because I just thought, well, we tell everybody once in an email that this is the page size and this is what it needs to be, and that's all you need to do. But you have to kind of be really, really on it.
Yeah.
And I took my eye off the ball a few times, and so I didn't pick up on some errors when I should have. So that wasted a little bit of time.
It's fair to say we actually lost a fair bit of time. I think collectively, we probably lost up to 3 weeks. Somewhere down the line, because when an error like that comes up at the last minute, you've got to pull everything apart. But
they are all teething problems. So come volume 2, I don't think we're going to have any of those.
You've got a bit of a saucy designer on board as well, haven't you, to help out?
Yes, Vince Hunt was absolutely brilliant, and Vince. Together, Vince and I sort of designed this, but of course he actually made.
I love that so much. That's one of my favourite bits of design I've seen this year, because it's current but evocative of the past as well. So you get both out of it.
It's so dense. There's so much going on in there, So
tell Tony how long it took for you and I to put this together.
I'd say it took us about 2 weeks to come
2 weeks.
This
was 2 weeks' work for us.
Choosing the images and the fonts, and there's all sorts of things going on there, isn't there?
We had a test, you see. We said it's got to be as good as the original 2000 AD advert, which was by the brilliant Doug Church, who came up with it, back in the day. And so we put whatever we came up with, and we think it's not quite as good. Now, what would Doug do here? and this process, we got addicted to it. I think it was well worth it, because it really, as you say, it has a lot of energy behind it. And then once we'd done that, then it went to Vince, and we went through a further process with him.
Vince is he's far too polite to say what it was really like. But I think
he's not saying to me. He's only said it was lovely to work with you. That's all he said. Yeah, I have to say.
Well, he really came through for us, so we're eternally grateful to him. Yeah, and he was.
That's enough of being nice to him. We can't be. That's enough being nice to Vince. I don't think we should do it too long.
Subject of production, a footnote to what Lisa's saying there, because it's starting to come up now a little bit in questions and so on. Our publishing model is based on print on demand.
Yeah.
And as you know, the majority of indie comics are often Kickstarter. And so we would bang the drum for any prospective newcomer. Look at print on demand. And as evidence, if you look at the various indie novelists, they're all using print on demand. To my knowledge, hardly any are going in for Kickstarter.
I think a lot of people see Kickstarter now as a promotional tool as opposed to a sales tool, maybe.
It's a bit of a jump. I think there's some truth in that. But what we found was that the energy that we would have had to have put into a Kickstarter, we might as well go down the print on demand road instead.
I
think Kickstarter, some of them are done really well, but I think a few people fall into the mistake of thinking that it's a pretty easy thing to do. You just put something up on Kickstarter and it kind of promotes itself. But of course, more and more people are doing that, so you have to be able to stand out.
Yeah, it's a busy field at the moment, especially since lockdown, Lisa. It's just, but there's so much going up there.
I've noticed more and more in the last few months. Yeah, so how do you make your voice heard there? And I think for us, we decided we didn't want that itself a Kickstarter project to be the job. And not also be responsible for mailing stuff out either, and we just wanted to have someone else fulfill the orders. So that's why obviously people have issues with Amazon, but it's a great model.
We all buy from them though. I know, do you know what I mean? I agree.
For independent publishers, but of course now we are also using GetMyComics for distribution as well,
and we're also of course doing these book plates.
So let's get into this, so we can let's wind up a little bit with how we get it. So you've got a lovely, for those that can't see, you've got a lovely book plate. So have you got a Behave one there as well, Pat? Did I just see in your other hand?
So these ones are
for Be Pure.
Be Pure, yes.
These sort of generic ones, because we're also selling Be Pure, Be Vigilant, Behave
as well at the same time. I get you.
Comics. Yeah, so we're decided to, because we can't do the signed books anymore, we've decided to sell it with these book plates. So
which are quite cool in themselves. You often see them in, I know Gosh always puts them in the bag at the front because it's quite a selling point, and they are lovely little things. Yeah. And I think
they're quite nice.
Are you personalizing some? Is that right?
Yeah. There's a kind of 2-tier system, I think, really to sort of cover our costs and also GetMyComics as a little bit of a markup.
So there's a signed one, and then there's a personal dedication one of the Spacewarp ones, and all that information's up on getmycomics.com/Millsverse, I think.
There you go. That's where I ordered mine from. Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. So the tiers are just the comic, the signed book plate, the personalized comic with the comic, and so there's that 3 tiers. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So we've just decided with Adrian at GetMyComics to extend it for a bit more. We were going to end the personalized book plates this weekend, but we decided actually it's so near to Christmas, let's keep it running for another couple of weeks, and it gives people a chance if they want to order it for Christmas.
That's a good shout. Yeah.
That we can get those in, because otherwise it was stopping it and then maybe starting it for Christmas. We realised in terms of the turnaround of signing and sending back and everything, we might run out of time. So I think we're going to run it till about the 7th or something.
Yeah. Okay. So have you had any ridiculous requests? Has anyone asked for Barry Cheeseman or anything like that?
I haven't asked you actually. Have you signed any crazy ones?
Oh yeah. There's quite a few ludicrous ones. I think there was one saying that I should bequeath all my creative goods to worldly goods to him or something. Yeah. And of course the other thing they're doing, and I shouldn't really be saying this because it will only encourage them, and GetMyComics will be a little bit pissed off.
This isn't going out till after that.
They use it also as a message board. So you get the sort of dedication, and then over to one side there's comments, and you've got this whole other conversation going on. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have to have an extra tier there for very long dedications. Charge another quid for that, I think.
So when are the books flying out the door? When do people expect to get them on their mat and stuff like that?
Well, I know that they've shipped to GetMyComics, and they are arriving on Monday. So I assume Adrian's going to be turning them around fairly quickly. Hopefully they'll be out the door in another day or two, because it's obviously got to bundle them up.
So technically the end of next Saturday, I would have assumed.
Some of them will be going out. I think people might get them by next weekend if all goes smoothly.
And in a similar way on Amazon, it should go up on Amazon probably Monday or Tuesday. Is that right?
Yeah, it's in review at the moment, so it's just for the cogs to turn over there. Yeah, Monday probably at the latest. Actually, it'll be live.
Good stuff. That's great. Yeah. I think the thing is as well, this podcast might not go out until after then, but I take it you're still signing book plates all the way through. You'll still do it as a thing, or is it just a limited time?
I think the personalised ones we're going to end probably around the 7th of November.
Right.
You'll probably I think we're just going to do a big batch of signed book plates to make them available for quite a long
time. Cool. So I can go to the site still, go to GetMyComics, and they'll still get them.
Because it's quite a simple thing to do,
Yeah. And I think now in this age where comic book signings and conventions are problematic, I think book plates are going to become more and more important.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. It's just a nice little thing, isn't it, as well, to have.
Well, it's a way of reaching the audience, and I was, as you know, on that what was it, Drink and Draw.
You popped down to our Drink and Draw. Yeah, that was great. Everyone loved that, man. That was so good. Yeah.
Well, having been on that one, and more recently on another techno system called Teams. Yes. I have to say, I actually preferred Zoom. I think because you see the all these little screens and things, whereas on Teams you've just got this sort of coloured dot, of representing all the different people. But I suppose what I'm driving at is, I think somewhere maybe early in the new year we should look at that and see if we can do a kind of virtual Spacewarp event,
that'd be great.
where we can interact with fans, with readers, and see what they like, what they dislike, and really get a whole conversation going. And I think probably to make that work well, we'd have to lure in at least some of the Spacewarp artists, so it's not me rabbiting on the whole time, and really get some debate going, because let's face it, virtual conventions is what lies ahead of us all.
It does seem to be the way forward. And we're talking about not to expect any until the very earliest May next year. Yeah, I can see it. And I think you're right. That drink and draw, when you've got like a big computer screen full of people asking you questions and stuff, it was friendly, it was personable. And I mean, we run a couple a month at the moment. In fact, there's one the night before Thought Bubble, which we're running as well, in case anyone's about. And we normally get about 40 people, maybe about that many to it now.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. I think the only reason I haven't we've got other things that we have to push first, but it's really just familiarizing myself with the systems, the Zoom versus Teams, and also how do we do it? I mean, there has to be a top limit of people coming in. And so how do we select that? Oh, God, not another competition, please. But there's obviously got to be some way of saying, well, you need a manageable number of screens, don't you, really? If you've got, I don't know, presumably it's fairly...
Isn't it 100 maximum anyway?
I think you have to have like a business account, don't you, for Zoom? Zoom's one of those ones. We got a friend of ours who's got one, so he used that. Tom Curry, shout out to him. But I think it's a bit like that. Yeah. It's not a bad system. I use Teams at work. I'm a slave to Teams, to having the little green light on. That's what I use all day long at work. And sometimes when you're working on a project with a couple of people, you can have it on for a couple of hours just chatting, and it's actually nice to get a bit of personal interaction sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's definitely the way forward. I think we're a bit stuffed, and I think that's where the Bookplates play a good point. Where otherwise we'd come to a table and have a chat with you. At least you're able to find something. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really working out what's the best way to simulate a convention. How do we do that in a way that's going to be reasonably satisfying for a reader to have gone to all the hassle of signing in on Zoom or Teams, and so that he comes away from it, he or she, and thinks, that was great. That was with the way you would kind of like move along a series of desks, say at a convention, and you talk to.
You can have different rooms on Zoom. You can go from room to room. There's got to be a way of doing it. There's got to be a way of doing it. Yeah.
Give people a nice. You want them to feel entertained and sort of elevated by it.
Yeah.
So if there's any cyber geniuses out there who are really knowledgeable,
Lisa's a cyber genius. We know this for a fact. Lisa, you are.
Me?
Yeah.
God, no.
Right.
You would be if you put your mind to it.
Yeah,
but Lisa's got so many other.
I got to sell books. That's what I have to do. Yeah.
So let's wrap it up a little bit there. I've got to tell you, I absolutely love Spacewarp. It's
thank you.
Densely told, but there's action throughout. There's no pages of talking heads. We get right to it, and the design and the storytelling is very imaginative, and it really brings back to those days of great science fiction. The likes of Heavy Metal and 2000 AD and that sort of thing. That just really sparked something for me when I was certainly a kid, and hopefully that will translate over. Lise, where can we get them from? Where's the place to get them from?
Okay, so you can get it digitally from Comixology and from Amazon Kindle, and from next week you'll be able to get it from Amazon, the print edition, and from GetMyComics.com, but also you can go into your local bookshop or comic shop if it's open and order it. Yeah. And it will be on the catalogue ordering system as well, and that goes for around the world. So you're in America or Australia, you can get your shop to order Spacewarp for you. That will be available. I think actually that ordering bit is probably going to be available from about a week's time. But
okay, cool, brilliant.
Yeah. And a note to that, apart from GetMyComics, who of course are supplying comic shops in turn throughout the UK, we're also supplying ourselves, I think, Forbidden Planet and
Forbidden Planet and Forbidden Planet International will also be actually having it in stock. We're just setting up a deal with those two now.
So that will probably be, again, as a rough guess, maybe 10 days from now.
Something like that.
If all goes well.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Good
So
stuff.
Should be on the shelves there, yeah.
I've double dipped. I suspect a lot of people will be double dipping on this as well. So get a digital. If you've got a digital, get a print copy. You got to do it. What happens to your computer if your computer breaks? What's going to happen? You need a print copy, don't you? Good. All right, guys. Cheers for that, and hopefully I actually see you in person soon if we live through this. But yeah. See you soon.
Tony.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.